What if I told you that for some creatures, being born male or female is just a starting point, that for them, gender isn't a lifelong sentence but a biological strategy? Deep beneath the waves lives a creature that holds a remarkable secret: the ability to completely change its gender. And this isn't science fiction. It's a real-life survival story, a masterclass in adaptation written right into its DNA. Today, we're going to uncover how and why this underwater organism pulls off one of nature's most incredible transformations. Welcome to the strange alien world of the gender-bending clam. When you think of a clam, you probably picture a simple shell on the beach, or maybe something you'd find on a dinner plate. But these animals, these bivalve mollusks, are way more complex and bizarre than they look. There are over 15,000 species of clams scattered in waters all over the world, and they have been around for a very, very long time. For this story, we're zooming in on one of the most impressive of them all, the giant clam, genus Tridacna. These are the titans of the clam world, the largest living bivalve mollusks on Earth. Some, like Tridacna gigas, can grow over a meter across and weigh more than 200 kilograms, becoming living, breathing landmarks on coral reefs. Their shells are like massive sculptures, and the fleshy mantles they poke out are often painted with vibrant, almost hypnotic patterns. These clams are basically living solar panels. Their colorful mantle tissue is home to billions of single-celled algae called zooxanthellae. During the day, the clam opens its shell wide, stretching out its flesh to give these algae all the sunlight they need to photosynthesize. In exchange for the safe house, the algae provide the clam with most of its food. It's a beautiful symbiotic partnership. But this stationary lifestyle creates a huge biological problem. If you're anchored to one spot on the reef for your entire adult life, how do you solve the most crucial puzzle of all, making babies? You can't exactly go out looking for a date. You're stuck. And when finding a partner is this much of a challenge, nature has to get creative. The giant clam's solution is both radical and elegant, and it's the key to our whole mystery. It doesn't just find a mate, it changes its own body to maximize its chances, starting a journey from one sex to another. So, how does a clam actually change its gender? The process is a type of sequential hermaphroditism, which is just a fancy way of saying an organism changes sex during its life. Specifically, most giant clams are what biologists call protandrous hermaphrodites. It sounds complex, but the idea is actually pretty logical. Protandrous just means male first. When a giant clam is young and small, it develops as a male. Its reproductive organs, called gonads, are set up to produce only sperm. From an energy standpoint, this makes total sense for a young clam. Making sperm is metabolically cheap. It doesn't take a lot of resources to create millions of tiny sperm cells. So in its early years, the clam is a fully functional male. But as the clam gets bigger and older, something incredible starts to happen. Triggered by a mix of internal cues tied to its size and age, a major transformation begins inside its gonads. The very same organ that was making sperm starts to rewire itself. New tissues develop and the clam begins to produce female gametes, eggs. This doesn't happen overnight. For a while the clam is in a transitional phase, but eventually it becomes what's known as a simultaneous hermaphrodite. Now this is where it gets even cooler. The clam isn't just a male that turns into a female, it becomes both. A full-grown giant clam has a single gonad that contains both male and female tissues sitting right next to each other, able to produce both sperm and eggs. It is, for all practical purposes, a father and a mother in one body. This brings up another puzzle. If you can make both sperm and eggs, why not just fertilize yourself? Well, self-fertilization is usually a bad move, evolutionarily speaking. It leads to low genetic diversity, which makes a species vulnerable to disease and environmental shifts. The giant clam has a clever workaround to avoid this. When it's time to reproduce in a process called broadcast spawning, the clam doesn't release both its sperm and eggs at the same time. Instead, it follows a strict schedule. First, it shoots its sperm out into the water. Chemical signals from this sperm can trigger other clams nearby to start spawning too, creating a big synchronized event. Then, after waiting about 30 minutes, the clam switches gears and releases its eggs. This time delay ensures its own sperm has drifted far away, making self-fertilization almost impossible. The eggs are released into a soup of sperm from all its neighbors, maximizing genetic diversity and giving the species its best shot at the future. It's a perfectly coordinated dance performed by an animal that's literally bolted to the seafloor. We've covered the what and the how, but the most fascinating question is why? Why go through all this trouble? The answer is an incredibly efficient solution to the pressures of evolution, and it all comes down to something biologists call the size advantage model. Think about it like this: for any animal, making babies costs energy. But that cost isn't the same for males and females. Like we said, making sperm is cheap. A small young male can produce tons of it without using much energy. Eggs, on the other hand, are expensive. They're much bigger than sperm and are loaded with all the nutrients an embryo needs to get started. To make a lot of high-quality eggs, you need to be big, mature, and have plenty of resources. Now, back to our clam stuck on the reef. Its success as a female is directly tied to its size. The bigger it gets, the more eggs it can produce. A large female can release hundreds of millions of eggs at once, massively increasing the odds that some of her offspring will survive. A small female could only make a tiny fraction of that, so her contribution would be pretty small. So, the clam's gender-bending life is a perfect way to get the most reproductive bang for its buck over its entire life. When it's small and has fewer resources, it acts as a male, adding to the gene pool with low-cost sperm. But as it grows bigger and stronger, soaking up more energy from its algae buddies, it becomes more advantageous to be a female. So it transitions, by starting as a male and later becoming a hermaphrodite that can produce energy-guzzling eggs. The clam gets the best of both worlds. It reproduces effectively when small and super effectively when large. This strategy also solves the lonely on the reef problem. If you live somewhere with very few other clams, the chances of one of the opposite sex settling nearby are slim. But if every other adult clam is a hermaphrodite just like you, problem solved. Any neighbor is a potential partner. This flexibility guarantees that even in isolated spots, the species has a chance to keep going. As amazing as the giant clam story is, it's not some weird, isolated case in the ocean. This strategy, sequential hermaphroditism, is a recurring theme, an evolutionary playbook used by a surprising number of marine animals. Probably the most famous example is the clownfish from Finding Nemo. Clownfish live in anemones in a strict hierarchy, led by one large dominant female. All the other fish are smaller males. If that female dies, the largest male in the group doesn't look for a new female. He just becomes the new female, changing his sex to take her place. Then you have wrasses, a whole family of colorful reef fish. Many wrasse species live in harems, with one big colorful male defending a territory of smaller females. If that male is removed, the largest female in the group will change sex and color, becoming the new male leader. For these fish, being a small male is a losing game with almost no chance to reproduce. So it makes more sense to be a female first and only switch to male when you're big enough to run the show. From fish to snails to bivalves like our clam, the ocean is full of gender benders. Each one is a unique response to specific pressures, but the basic idea is the same. Gender can be a tool. It can be a fluid, adaptable trait that an animal can change to get the best possible chance of passing on its genes. The giant clam isn't a fluke. It's a perfect example of one of nature's most successful and mind-bending strategies for survival. The story of the gender-changing clam is a powerful reminder that the natural world is infinitely stranger and more creative than we can imagine. It's a world where the biological rules we take for granted get completely rewritten, and where survival drives the evolution of the most amazing abilities. An animal that starts life as a father and grows up to be both a father and a mother is proof of life's relentless creativity. Bolted to a reef, this seemingly simple creature has perfected a reproductive strategy so complex and efficient it has ensured its legacy across the vast blue ocean. If you found this dive into the bizarre life of the clam fascinating, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. There are countless more stories of strange biology and incredible survival waiting to be discovered. Thanks for watching.